Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Thursday, December the 14th. Starting off with Canucks news at the top of the board. It is Roberto Luongo Ring of Honor night, so that's going to be fun as the Canucks host the Panthers. And so that should be nice. Probably delay the start time by probably about roughly 10 minutes is my guess. But at any rate, Suter returns tonight for the Canucks, so they are 30 games into the season. I think this is the second game where they'll have both Suter and Blueger in the lineup. Remember, Suter was brought in to be the third-line center, Blueger ideally the fourth-line center, so we'll see how their lineup looks tonight, but they're mostly healthy. Zboril has cleared waivers for the Boston Bruins. I did see comments along the lines of he needs a chance from another organization, he's a good player, will somebody pick him up? There was speculation about whether or not maybe the Flames might pick him up because DeSimone, if he plays his 10th game, he's got to clear waivers before he goes down. So you'd keep him out of the lineup, put Zboril in, but at any rate, he clears waivers, so that whole discussion goes sideways. Last night's game, of course, Gabe Vilardi had a career night against his former team in LA. A goal and 3 assists. This is the first time he's recorded 4 points in a game in his career. And the Jets defeated the Kings 5-2 in an unlikely result after losing against San Jose the night before, but the NHL is wildly unpredictable this year, which is fun. I do like that. I think a more unpredictable league is more fun to watch. Speaking of which, the Oilers will try to go for their 9th straight win, which would equal a team record. And so we'll see whether or not they get there tonight. My guess is, probably. That being said, for the Oilers, they do have Tampa Bay tonight, so we'll see. Tampa Bay can be very unpredictable too, but again, as I said, this year the NHL, that's kind of how it works. So the Oilers red hot, trying to get above the playoff line, and a win tonight would definitely get them that much closer. So Minnesota Wild talk here. There seems to be a couple of things going on here. So apparently there have been 2 investigations into the Wild front office. And I'd like to throw a thanks out there to the reporting from Michael Russo and Joe Smith. Although there's not a lot of detail in here, I don't think there's a lot of detail they have to provide either. So this apparently may have led to O'Hearn parting ways with the team as assistant GM. Bill Guerin not as accessible since this took place, so we can all speculate about what's going on, but apparently there are 2 investigations into management of the Minnesota Wild, so we'll see where it goes and what ends up happening. Maybe it's just O'Hearn, but we'll see. We'll see where that ends up going. Again, it's already been kind of a rough year for Minnesota Wild fans. If there's an uproar with the front office, it's just another issue for them to overcome. So Pierre LeBrun reporting that the Calgary Flames are in no hurry to make a decision on Chris Tanev, who is not playing right now. He's hurt. But the idea of whether or not to keep him or trade him, he's an unrestricted free agent next summer. They haven't really made up their mind yet on what they're going to do or when. And this is where the teams that are sellers really do dictate how the market works. If the sellers all decide, you know what, we can just drive up the asking price if we get closer to the trade deadline, then that's what you do, and then there's not much that other teams can do to try to pry those pieces away from a team unless they're willing to throw in things like a first-round draft pick. And obviously with Chris Tanev, Brad Treliving signed him and brought him to Calgary. He knows what he's getting with Tanev. Tanev would solve some of the issues that the Toronto Maple Leafs have had on the blue line, but Calgary's not going to give him up for cheap. So Toronto, a team that's already traded away a lot of draft picks over the last few years, probably not anxious to trade more draft picks, but that's where we're going to be at. If they're looking at on the blue line, if they're going to go to teams that are rebuilding, retooling, or however you want to look at it, or just selling at the deadline, they're probably going to have to throw in prospects and draft picks. And I don't know how much of an appetite Brad Treliving would have for that. I don't know how much of an appetite Toronto fans would have for that either, considering the playoff struggles the team has had and everything. How much longer do you mortgage the future for, going for it? Liljegren, his return is close. He's not going to return tonight for Toronto, but he's seen as being close. And their lineup apparently for tonight is kind of in flux because the flu bug is running through their locker room. They're not the only team dealing with that. There's a lot of teams dealing with that right now. So you've got to, try to A, make sure that it's not getting around to everybody, and B, that you're holding guys out of the lineup when they're not feeling well. But at any rate, as I said, it's going on with Toronto's locker room. It's going on with others as well. So we'll see what their lineup looks like tonight. But there's a lot of speculation about who may not be in, who might be in, a lot of game time decision stuff. Dylan Larkin, he's not going to play through the weekend, but he did practice with the team today, so that's encouraging. listed as having an upper body injury. Yeah, that tracks. But yeah, it's the first time he's practiced since the injury, so he's out, he's skating, and that's good news. But again, with him being on IR, he's not eligible to play this coming weekend. But we'll see how much longer he's out. If he's back practicing already, hopefully it's not going to be that long. Ville Husso starting tonight for Detroit. I know there's Red Wing fans who are, all up in arms about how many starts Husso gets and what is Lalonde doing. The reality is Husso has a 9-4-2 record. Husso has a good record. And so that's honestly what I think the coach is thinking. It's the Martin Jones strategy of the Seattle Kraken last year. You've got a goalie who, his stats aren't great, but the team plays well in front of him and scores a bunch of goals, so you put him in the net. And so that's what Detroit's doing tonight with Husso. But again, they've got 3 goaltenders there. The question of how long they're going to carry 3 goaltenders persists. But it looks like Husso's going to start. Maybe Reimer would be the one that they'd make available if they're going to decide to just go with 2 goalies. Which again, Wings fans, I'm sure, would be completely okay with that, right? No? Okay. Anyways, Sonny Milano's been put on the IR by the Washington Capitals. The team's recalled Joe Snively from Hershey. And the more I see of this Potomac Yard development, it's wildly unpopular, and it's unpopular in that this is an area that has a lot of traffic. You're also dealing with not just like from the city, but you're dealing with traffic from the airport. You're dealing with a lot of metro stuff here. Also, interestingly enough, they're talking about shutting down one of the stops on this new transit line they have going through transit that apparently costs $370 million. And it already looks like it's not successful the way they wanted it to be. So they'd shut down the Potomac Yard stop, but that would obviously have to be reopened if the NHL and the NBA are there, right? It just sounds like everybody really doesn't like this idea. So while Ted Leonsis was out there with politicians saying, yeah, no, this is going to be great and everything, it sounds like people don't really necessarily want it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. I've also seen people saying, Leonsis is playing hardball with DC, so he gets a better lease Capital One Arena when this one's up. Maybe, but at any rate, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Forbes ranking times. It feels like the Forbes ranking's a little bit later than most years. But they're ranking the Leafs the most valuable team this year. They leapfrog the New York Rangers. And there's 4 teams that are worth more than $2 billion. Toronto, the New York Rangers, Montreal, and the LA Kings worth $2 billion or more. So those are pretty good, hefty values. Now, they also talked about how sponsorships in the NHL are worth $1.14 billion this year. They were worth $1.08 billion last year. So that's gone up. And that's just local level, so that's all 32 teams. Now, national sponsorships are up to $335 million. Last year, they were $323 million, and that quadrupled the number it was in 2019. So this is a league that has been generating a lot more money, a lot more corporate money, a lot of advertising money. They found new streams of ad revenue, and it's adding up to a lot more money in the NHL coffers. And so, yeah, it's not really a surprise to hear the salary cap is going to be going up, and that they're pretty enthusiastic about things. 21 teams in the league are worth $1 billion or more. So the concept that a team coming in, if you're going to be bringing an expansion team, the cost is going to be $1 billion. That definitely lends itself to that. You've got the Ottawa Senators selling for roughly $1 billion, right? He was $950 million. And now you've got 21 teams rated at $1 billion or more. You can definitely sell a new owner on the idea that, hey, this team's going to be worth $1 billion that you're buying here. So thanks for the $1 billion fee. So the Coyotes are last on the list at $500 million. That's an increase over last year. But again, what the Coyotes need, and we know this, is that new arena, that revenue stream from that new arena. And the plan is to announce that soonish. I think we're too close to Christmas now for them necessarily to announce it, but maybe early in the new year. And we'll see how it goes. Phoenix, it's supposed to be in Phoenix, and that's the plan for the Coyotes. And then I think we'll see their valuation rise. If they get a brand new arena and they get their entertainment district, everything they're looking for in Phoenix, the same thing they were looking for in Tempe, we'll see their valuation go up. and then we'll see if they're still 32nd or not. But yeah, the league's worth a lot of money right now, and as long as those numbers are all going up, I would say the NHL head office is pretty happy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.